Number of Shonim Omrim. Well, some Rosh Hashanah's Kodesh Vayigash, we should say. Shonim Omrim al Ezer Davar Shu Teva, when something is nature. Rosh also Davar Mutba Mitchunam Musiyama. It indicates that this thing has a specific way in which it is molded or formed, like a coin has a form to it. Moshe Omrim, like we say, Hergel Nasa Teva Sheni.
All right, I'm here.
Hergel Nasa Teva Sheni. If you that which you're habituated to do becomes like a second nature. Also, this thing becomes so much one with his character. So he's so accustomed to it, he can't do opposite that characteristic. I'll go and say Anu Omrim Shu Teva becomes a nature. What's the meaning? Every creature has been coined at the time it was made, also with its characteristics. It became so unified with its nature, it becomes its unique nature. Still can't change its nature no matter what. Nature is that gift which a creature acquired when it was created. The Chochmo wrote to define intellect. It's God's reminder to man via his intellect, which seems like finding intellect by intellect. Let's see how he explains it. He says, no, intellect is a tool by which God reveals reminds man of his existence because it has parameters. Among them are Shevach HaEmes, intellect praises truth, and derogates falsehood. So if that's the case, Seichel has these characteristics which are intrinsic to it, which God implanted in it in order to give it its nature. So that's the case. Why would we say that intellect is a natural phenomenon if it transcends nature and it has to do with being in touch with divinity? Venira al derech shebiyaru sheteva also davar shekibla nivra mehaborei yisbarach tziyosav. Teva is that thing which the creature got when Hashem created. And those characteristics are with it forever. You can't separate him from him no matter what. Okay, just repeated himself. But now he comes to the point. What is intellect? It's the Rebbe, Madrich, and the counselor. The person receives from God with his creation. In order to preserve it. In order that she preserve you. Yatso, give you counsel, and educate you your entire life. So Seichel is the gift of God to man as something which is supposed to navigate him through life in all these ways. So So Moshe was given the Torah as a gift. The Kiblu b'zeba b'matana nida. What do they mean by that? Shatorah naseis it's a Moshe Rabbeinu lava shalom b'teva. So this is not by all people. Moshe Rabbeinu Torah became his nature. It's given to him as, because obviously Yerucham saying that gift means something which is uniquely given to you and impressed upon your self. So he's saying that was given to Moshe Rabbeinu. Like Moshe Olam b'nei Seichel shu was karas Elokim. Like we understand that Seichel is a way in which to remember God, like Chobosabo says, we say that that's the nature of intellect. Torah by Moshe Rabbeinu was nature. And we find also in general, there's a big machlokes b'shonim. Are Jews just like B'ni B'chol Yisrael, the first among equals, or are they actually a completely different nature than non-Jews? And generally speaking, most of the Achronim go with the second perspective, that the Jews are a different sug. There's domain, nefesh, domain, sameach, chaim, medaber, Yisrael, right? Domain are inanimate objects. Sameach are things which grow, chai, things which are alive, medaber, human beings, and Yisrael is a higher level above that. So he says that by Yisrael, the things which Chazal, the Am Yisrael different than the non-Jews, should be so also dvarim hem teva. So, like, for example, a simple example would be the whole notion of tumantara. It doesn't exist by a non-Jew, right? So the teva of a non-Jew doesn't have tumantara. The teva of a Jew includes tumavatara, right? That's just an example, right? The teva of a non-Jew doesn't include a requirement to do mitzvos or a requirement to refrain from most averos. The teva of a Jew requires both, includes both. And what we find, say, Torah b'teva, by Yisrael, not the same level, but I guess a certain level as Moshe Rabbeinu, but I guess a certain level, Torah became a second nature, or nature. By Avram Avinu Nemar, it says, Titin emes Yaakov chesed Avram. It says, Shachesed shulamala min ateva etzleinu, chesed, which by us is above nature, it's Avram b'teva. Like we saw that his teva, his individual teva, evidently, although some of it is granted to us as well, because we saw our Rachmanim by Shonim and Gomlei Chasadim, we have all the traits. Nevertheless, everybody's teva is different, right? Just there's an overall generic general teva, and Am Yisrael can have certain aspects of a teva which is different than the aspects of non-Jews. But at the same time, the teva of Avraham Avinu is going to be a higher teva than just a Jew. So he says, he went to great pains, even was undergoing tremendous travail. So third day after his bismillah, in his desire to do good to others. For him, it was a nature, like, well, to be a nature to complain about our pain. There's no difference between nature and that which is supernatural. If you, the question is just what has become your nature. But anybody who's attained something supernatural, that for him is nature. They are levels, only levels, but in that which God embeds or molds human beings. The so the both are things which are commemorate Hashem. I think he means different levels of seichel. I think everybody has a seichel, the higher levels of seichel, but everybody has a seichel which is has koras elokim. They kept two people conduct themselves with derech eretz, Avram and Shol. I don't know what the reference to Shol is, but Avram Avinu. Avram Shem Abayikach Shnei Nara. It took, because of the Chazal say a great person should always have two people accompanying him. So therefore, Avram Avinu, he went with derech eretz, right? He went with those two companions. He was going to do this great test. He didn't transgress derech eretz. And this is not like we normally understand. that he was required to keep derech eretz and do the normal things which people do. Because you can't rely on miracles. And Abraham Avinu made sure to follow the pathways of nature because you can't rely on a miracle. The opposite. It's an obligation upon a person to preserve nature because it commemorates Hashem. It's a very nice, green Rabbi Yerucham here, right? Nature is important. It's one is to preserve nature. It's talking about not just obviously nature in the sense of the environment. It's talking about the nature of a human being. And if something is characteristic of us, because that's what our seichel tells us, and even derech eretz, not Torah, we have to do it. So you have to keep all the mitzvahs. Nature is that the Rebbe and the guidance counts for us. Now, we have listened to all its commands. But a person has to go through life with common sense, which is a tremendously short supply in our day and age. But that is the idea of seichel hayoshar. We don't find any warning in Torah. Be intellectual or don't be stupid, right? But it's flush. You don't need a warning. This is a commemoration of God that He gave us in order to preserve us and educate us. That when Yosef was taken away, so his father cried with him, and Chazal says, Yitzchak. And even though Yitzchak knew that Yosef was just sold down the river and that he wasn't actually dead, he mourned with Yaakov. Lama Logilo, why didn't he reveal to Yaakov? Yosef is alive. Baruch Logilo said Hashem didn't reveal to him, Bani Megalo, I'm going to reveal it to him. Yosef Chai, knew Yosef was alive. Bechozos Logilo Zos Yaakov. He didn't reveal it to Yaakov. Became a Shakadosh Baruch Hu, Megalo, Hashem's not revealing it to Yaakov. Stoma ain't Sarich Lagidlo. Evidently, there's no need to tell him this. There's no command not to tell Yaakov. He could have saved Yaakov anguish by telling him this, right? Even though if you really revealed it, he would have curtailed so much of Yaakov Avinu's anguish. He understood logically. If God's not revealing it, I'm not supposed to reveal it. Vukanal, like we said before, even though there's no commandment, right? There's no commandment to be quiet. On the contrary, one can make the case that the commandment is to say something in order to diminish Yaakov's anguish. The way Rabbi Yerucham was learning it, Yitzchak made a kal v'chomer. He said, if Hashem's not revealing it, I certainly should reveal it. And that's a logical construct. The logical construct is something which can even go against the grain of what you might think is appropriate, and certainly go against sentiment, but seichel is also part of what one has to do in this world. It's an interesting way of looking at it. I don't know if I buy it all the way, but it's an interesting way of looking at it. Abraham allowed himself to be tossed into the furnace. Even though it was only because of his own mental recognition of God. But no command from God for him to be most nefesh. Because Seichel is the Rebbe and the counselor of Asif Shum Oiv and Labor Allah. You can't transgress it. You have to listen to all its commands. To the point you throw yourself into the furnace. You know, I think I might have mentioned this before last week, maybe I didn't. The example which always comes to mind of this is Socrates, right? Lahavdil, right? Socrates would not sacrifice his truth, even though he could have saved his life that way. So the person, it's not dying al Kiddush Hashem in the sense of, dying for Torah, mitzvahs, etc. It's dying for what one believes to be a basic principle. That also should be a teva, which emerges from the seichel. Shadam shomer kaim teva chol b'duka pratav. When a person preserves teva and all its details, nuances, zocha shator taseh teva. You can go to the point that also Torah becomes in nature. So Samesh zocha majaga yosa gadola. Like derech eretz kodmo Torah, but then you build on derech eretz to get to Torah. Shetmuras hateva shu adot mishamro. Instead of the teva that until now preserved him, Torah he gets to a higher level where Torah directs him. Mishamro and preserves him, Yatso, and counsels him. It's a stepping stone. Since they were meticulous in preserving their nature, when you go fulfill that, you go up a level. 26 generations exist in the world before the Torah was given. Shneimai says, "Lishmor is derech eitz hachayim." It says, this is said by the Kruvim who stood outside Gan Eden. Lishmor is derech eitz hachayim. First comes the derech is the derech eretz, v'chachach eitz hachayim is the Torah. So the first 26 generations, including the Avos, is the derech eretz, Chochmo Torah, and that's why Chazal say that Yofas Yichotin Shel Avdi Avos Yosim Terasim Shel Bani, that the Parsha of Eliezer, he's probably going to get this at some point, is repeating the Chumash twice, how Eliezer dealt in order to get Rivka for Yitzchak, and many parts of Torah and Beis Halachos are just hinted at, are not explicit in the Torah. Why? Because first comes derech eretz, and then comes Torah, and the Bereshis is the necessary prelude to the rest of Torah. Udvar meil on a roim b'divrei Rambam Parshas Chayesor. V'abla b'yishkol dvarim and divrei Kabbalah. Sham and divrei Kabbalah. Mishitchus advarim nirasham in Yozeh b'zel l'shon. Even though it's Kabbalistic, we can see it on a more superficial level. And Mavur zeh midrash Rabbi Chuni HaKarim b'chuli. Me'echon oisa bas l'Avram. Says Avram had a daughter. Hashem Yirachas Avram b'kol, he had a daughter. When you have a daughter, so it says that from that part we learn out. It's like a king who had perfect slave. He saw him comedy says Amakulam. He succeeded all tests. What can I do for him? I'll tell my big brother to give him counsel and watch over him and honor him. It's interesting. I don't remember this. So Evan went to the older brother. The brother loved him. Call him my beloved. What should I do? I made this very special, precious a garment with extraordinary precious stones. And it's called Malachim, the treasure of kings. And now I'll give it to him and he'll merit in my place. Adkan was shown around Ramban. So obviously, this requires a tremendous amount of analysis and explanation. What exactly this is here, the king and the big brother. But in any event, he says on a simple level. First, he taught the big brother to educate him. They reach a much higher level. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe it's not the big brother of the king, maybe it's the big brother of the Evan. I'm not sure either way, but the point is the same. The ending of Achi Bagado is to Makabal Adam Techem Mitzilas Liatzol Shalom Chanchol. Zel Seichel Shu Askoras Elokim. So big brother is the Seichel. Hashem gives the person a Seichel in order to direct it. And when Avraham Avinu having a daughter doesn't mean, according to this interpretation, that literal daughter, but rather Mida, which used to be outside of him, now became internalized within him. The sales was Koras Elokim, was Koras Chodas Avavos. Adam Shomer Umekayim Lasecha B'chol Pratab, when he keeps the Secha properly, Zochel Madrego Yosef is going to get to even higher level. So also it's on a higher level, going to counsel him, Mechabdo, give him honor, and Lechanchel, and educate him, Kamo Secho, just like the Secho. So they're obviously higher Madregas and higher Madregas. And next, he's going to go on with this for a few more morning. But in the meantime, from this mimer, we see that he's saying that Teva and Lamalmi Teva are just differences in levels. They're not qualitatively different. And Seichel is an essential part of Teva, and it's what God gave us as Koras Elokim in order to guide us. And a person can be Zeicha to even greater parts of Seichel as he goes along as well.
Wow.
Okay.
That was great.
Okay.
Yes, very good.
All right.
Very
so
good.
I think like there are like tens of Mamorim along this line. So they have every week a little bit more. Okay.
Great.
Take care.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.